Over the last 12 years of me observing birds, I've known a lot of black-capped and boreal chickadees. It may seem impossible, but due to me seeing the same individuals every day, I've learned to tell them apart, leading me to being able to name certain birds. None of the ones I've known, though, have ever been so easy to identify as this little one. Meet Inky, a female black-capped chickadee with the most unique coloration I've ever seen. It's quite easy to see what's so different about her compared with other chickadees. She has a very noticeable large patch of black on her right side, and there is some dark mottling on her left side. It's so prominent that I can spot her from a distance. Black-capped chickadees don't look like this. Normally, their plumage on the sides and belly are clean like these chickadees. When I first met Inky, I didn't know what to think of her coloration. To me, it looked as if something had grabbed her, but she got away somehow. Or that she got into a really wicked fight with another chickadee. At the time, my thought was that as the weeks went by, her feathers would grow back. That hasn't happened, and so my interest in her unique coloration continued. Then I started noticing another chickadee with similar markings, causing me to really be intrigued by this odd phenomenon. Like this one named Dash due to that band of dark feathers on the lower belly. Dash doesn't live in the same area as Inky. In fact, the little one lives about 2 kilometers further in the woods. As far as I can tell, Inky and Dash appear to be young birds. The reason I think that is the fact that the two of them ended up spending the winter on territories owned by older chickadees. Every fall, young chickadees who don't have their own territories yet seek out an established flock to mingle with for the winter. It's a survival strategy as more eyes are on lookout for food and predators. So last October, Dash found his way to Bud's flock, a male chickadee I've known since 2012 or 2013. And last September, Inky found her way to Filbert's flock, another male chickadee whom I've known for several years. In fact, some of you may remember Filbert. He used to be with Phoebe, the female that used our nest box in 2021. Unfortunately, Phoebe has been gone since last spring. The similar coloration of Inky and Dash made me wonder if maybe they came from the same brood but went off in separate directions. Then I saw a couple other species with the same kind of markings, a boreal chickadee with some of it on its left flank, and then in the later part of winter a male red-breasted nuthatch showed up, Lentil's new mate. Right away I noticed the dark spot on his left side. It really stands out. Obviously, Lentil's mate didn't come from the same brood as Inky. He is a different species. What the heck is going on? Sometimes a genetic mutation can occur called melanism. This is when an animal has dark coloration either all over or in patches in their skin, fur, or feathers. It's the opposite from 2 other genetic mutations known as albinism and the other one, leucism. This is when there is a lack of pigment either completely, albinism, or on some part of the bird, leucism. With Inky and the other birds, I can't say for certain that they are melanistic. Maybe it's nothing at all and just something odd with their plumage. The only way I will know for sure is if these individuals retain this unique coloration even after they molt this summer. I'm really interested to see if Inky, Dash, and Lentil's mate keep their distinct look once all their new feathers have replaced the old ones by around August. If this is the case, what could be the cause? Is it something to do with the environment? To find out, I read up a little on melanism and discovered that the genes that cause melanistic plumage are thought to be present in every species, because occasionally it is seen in any population of birds. This condition can also result from other stimuli, such as exposure to abnormal temperature changes during gestation. This is the period when a fetus develops inside the womb of its mother, which isn't how it works with birds. Instead, they lay their eggs and incubate them. So for them, it would have to be an abnormal temperature change while the mother is incubating the eggs. It can happen from human changes to an environment too, and in this situation is known as industrial melanism. One good example of this comes from the 1800s in industrial parts of the UK. A black form of peppered moth very suddenly started appearing. Peppered moths are nocturnal. They rest on walls or tree trunks during the day. In a smoke-stained world, this can pose a risk for them as their lighter color would stand out more against the smoke residual, allowing birds to find them easily. So the solution to that problem for these moths was to change their color to a darker form. Only populations in the very polluted areas, cities, did this. Ones in the countryside kept their original form. There was no need to change as there was no smoke pollution. For Inky, I don't see there being any environmental reason like that for why she's darker. But maybe it could be a result of abnormal temperature change while her mom was in the middle of incubating her in the egg. Whatever the case is with these birds, this trait has really allowed me to get to know Dash, Lentils Mate, and especially Inky extremely well. With Inky being a young bird though, I never had much hope in really getting to know her, as I've learned over the years that the likelihood of young chickadees making it or staying after the winter is very slim. This is due to young birds dispersing off when spring arrives, finding their own territories. So, as spring neared, I prepared myself to not see Inky anymore. I was expecting her to eventually leave in order to find a mate. However, with Filbert mateless, it opened up a potential for Inky, and wouldn't you know it, they ended up being together. How cool is that? That means that I can continue to get to know Inky and see whether this odd coloration of hers will remain after summer or not. What's even more exciting is the fact that Inky has taken an interest in our nest box, which was made and gifted to us by Birds Walking Down. I'll leave a link to his site down below. She really got busy coming and going to remove the wood chips. In fact, she went a little too crazy, removing just about every single one of them to the point there was basically none left. I can say that of all the chickadees that have visited our nest box the last couple of years, Inky has been the most interesting to watch. I have seen so many fun behaviors from her, such as her interest in the camera, her determination with removing large pieces of wood chips, and so much more. Oh, how fascinating and fun it would be to watch Inky raising a brood in our nest box. Not to mention that if this coloration of Inky's is due to melanism, maybe she could pass it on to her offspring. That's not too far of a stretch either, as I've learned that melanistic individuals can certainly breed and pass off their genes. It's even a possibility with situations like this for a species to eventually end up with its own established color morph. I don't exactly expect that enormous feat to happen, but hey, you never know, right? And regardless of whether that were to happen or not, doesn't take away from how interesting all of this is. I'm having so much fun getting to know Inky each day that passes. I look forward to sharing more about her as time goes on, so make sure to stay tuned and keep your fingers crossed that her and Filbert have a successful brood. Speaking of nesting chickadees, in the meantime, why not check out my nest box experience with watching Filbert and Phoebe back in 2021? I think it would even be a good refresher for those who have already seen it, especially since Inky is nesting in the box right now. There is such a stark contrast between how Phoebe did things and what I'm witnessing Inky doing, so keep that in mind. Thanks for watching. Happy birding. Now their little adorable blackcaps were perfectly visible. Amazing how quickly birds grow up. It seems as though one day they are these little beings with not much personality, awareness, or size.